رحم الله من قرأ سورة الفاتحة. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. اللهم صل على محمد وآله. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، قال الإمام علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه: persist in doing good deeds and in cautioning against bad deeds. If you do not do so, then do not be surprised if the worst amongst you become leaders, and when you call upon Allah, you will receive no response. In this, the 8th passage and the final will of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. The Imam looks at a very underestimated area in our communities, namely the importance of enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. Enjoining the good and forbidding the evil is translated in the Arabic language as Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar is one of the roots of the religion of Islam. As we know, in the school of Ahlul Bayt, we divide the structure of the religion into two: the pillars of the religion and the roots of the religion. The pillars of the religion are known as the usul, and the roots of the religion are known as the furu'. And the furu' are divided into 10 branches, of which, of these 10 you have hajj, you have salah, you have Sawm, you have Zakat, you have Khums, and one of these 10 you have, which is known as what? Which is known as Amr bil Ma'ruf, and another one which is known as Nahi anil Munkar. In other words, in the same way that we find prayer is obligatory, Hajj is obligatory, fasting is obligatory, likewise enjoining the good and forbidding the evil is also obligatory. You find that the school of Ahlul Bayt recognizes that the basis of a successful community is that its members are continuously promoting the good and doing what? And cautioning against the bad. Unfortunately, in our communities today, this seems to be missing. That you find that there are many people who pray, many people who fast, many people who go on pilgrimage, but when it comes to people who stand up against what's wrong and promote what is right, you find them very far and few between. And this may be because of two reasons, as in historically, why have people always thought twice about Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar? There's always been two reasons. The first is that they've always felt that the leadership was too powerful, or the leadership, their reputation was too strong, or the leadership, they were too clinical in finishing you off if you spoke out against them. In the past, you always found that there was a governor, or a sultan, or a caliph, or a president, or a prime minister, or a king. When you tried to speak out against any of them, your reputation was either quickly destroyed, or you yourself were destroyed in the midst of society. So you find the first reason many people did not do Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar was because they felt that when they saw Munkar being performed by the leaders, they felt the leader's position was too strong and their life would be in danger if they spoke out. The second reason is that you find people do not do amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar is because they say, listen, me and my family are religious. What others are doing is not our concern. You say, what do you mean? They say, as long as me and my sons and my daughters are happy at home, as long as we are praying and we are fasting, I don't want a headache of getting involved in speaking out against what is wrong. All I want to do at home is I want to read my Quran. I want to have my good small circle of friends. Yes, I admit in my community there is injustice. I admit in my community there is wrong. But I'd prefer to stay away from speaking out. I don't want to give myself an unnecessary headache. Therefore, you found that there were always two main reasons why people would not perform amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. Either psychologically they were scared, or because the leadership was so strong they feared for their life. But you find that the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on numerous occasions highlighted that the fulcrum of any successful Islamic society is that each and every member performs amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi anil munkar. You find, for example, when you analyze the Quran, in chapter 3, verse 110 of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks of the greatest community and talks of their attributes. He says, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرَ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. You were the greatest community risen upon mankind. You always enjoin the good and you always forbid the evil. Likewise, in another verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when I established my prophet in Medina, and my prophet and his companions sacrificed their lives, they are a group of people Allah describes in the Quran in chapter 22 verse 39, where he states, الَّذِينَ إِن مَّكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ أَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ and what? وَأَمَرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَنَهَوْا عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Again in the Quran, Luqman, when he speaks to his son in the Quran, and his son is only in his teenage years, Luqman speaks to his son. What does he say to him? He says to him, يَا بُنَيْ أَقِمَ الصَّلَاةَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَانْهَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Numerous occasions in the Quran, you will hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking of the best community as those who do amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar. Likewise, the Prophet himself, on many occasions, the Prophet himself, people would come to him and say to him, Ya Rasulullah, who is the weakest of men? Normally, if I ask you who's the weakest of men, automatically the answer will think physically, isn't it? Rasulullah replied, the weakest of men is the one who sees evil but does not speak out. That's the weakest. Normally, when I would think of the weakest, I'd think of someone who can't lift something, or someone whose body looks physically weak. Whereas the Holy Prophet, when he was asked, who's the weakest? He said, the one when he sees evil, but doesn't speak out. He remains silent upon witnessing evil. Likewise, on another occasion, the Prophet says, that beware that you do not do amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar. Beware, because the worst of you will become leaders, and your supplications will not be accepted. Isn't it true? As in, how do you find dictators coming to power? It's because the good remained silent as they were going up and up. Isn't it? If you look at any community, when you see a community rotting, it didn't rot in one day. It rotted because you allowed certain people to always have the say in your community. And they continued to have the say for years, until you reach a stage where the community is dead. Dead how? Anyone who speaks out against these people is in trouble. You look at the dictators in history. Look at any of the dictators of any country. You'll always find they didn't become dictators in one day. They rose and the people remained silent. They rose further, the people remained silent. They got to the top, now you want to speak. He's established his power so firmly that he doesn't care whether you speak or anyone else speaks. And I tell you, any dictator, not just of a country, you can have a dictator in your own small community. You may have a community of 400 people, have one dictator. Nothing gets through unless he speaks. And you find that this is the case in many Muslim communities in the world today. There are dictators who rule the communities and the people remain silent. You say to them, shouldn't you be speaking out against this injustice? They say, well, to tell you the truth, we're scared for our lives if we speak out. Or to tell you the truth, our family is a good family. He may be or she may be a bad person, but we prefer to stay in our own little bubble because our bubble is the safest place for us to be. Amir al-Mu'mineen, before he died, in his will, of all the lines he wrote, one of the last lines he wrote was what? Persist in doing good deeds and caution against the bad deeds. If you don't, then don't be surprised if the worst people become your leaders, and when you ask Allah for help, there will be no response. How many times do you see that this words of Ali ibn Abi Talib make sense until today, isn't it? That when we saw someone performing bad deeds, instead of speaking out, what did we say? We said we prefer to stay away from this issue. You find the community rots because they allowed that person or those people to continue in their position. Therefore, Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar was a fulcrum of this religion. This religion, the religion of Islam, was founded on people who enjoin the good and forbid the evil. And I tell you, you find that there are scholars in the school of Ahl al-Bayt who even ask a philosophical question in relation to Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. Do you know what they ask? Do I need to be a Muslim to know it's important to enjoin the good or forbid the evil? This is a central philosophical debate in Islam. Some of the ulama ask the question, can a Hindu who has no Islam still believe it's good to enjoin good and forbid evil? A Buddhist who has no Islam, can he still believe it's important to enjoin the good and forbid the evil? An atheist who has no religion, can he still believe it's important to enjoin the good and forbid the evil? You find the scholars in the school of Ahl al-Bayt differ with each other. For example, Ayatollah Borojordi, may Allah bless his soul. Ayatollah Borojordi used to say, enjoining the good and forbidding the evil is something natural in every human being. He used to say, you do not need a religion for you to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Do you know how he would explain this? He said, if now me and you were standing next to each other, please listen to this example. If me and you were standing next to each other, we see a blind man walking, let's say. The person who's standing next to me is someone who doesn't believe in God, is a non-Muslim. He sees a blind man walking. There's a pond, for example, there. That blind man is walking towards the pond and doesn't know that there's a pond coming. Do I need to be a Muslim for me to forbid that act from happening? To have that sense of spirit to go and stop it? Or do I have to be, can I be just a normal human being without any religion? But I recognize it's important for me to go and stand up to what's happening, isn't it? Ayatollah Borjodi, what did he say? He said, you don't have to be a Muslim to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. You can be a normal human without any religion. But when you see something that's wrong, that's happening, naturally your soul tells you, stand up and go and speak, isn't it? How many times do you find non-Muslims in the world today who speak up for Islamic issues? Yes? How many times you find, for example, there may be a Hindu or a Christian who may speak up for a group of Muslims in the world? It could happen. Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar, according to Ayatollah Borjordi, was something innate in every human. You didn't need to cultivate it. Every human, when they see evil, has something inside them telling them, stand up and speak. Allam al-Hilli had a difference. He said, yes, every human being may know it's innate. But not every human being knows the different categories of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. You see what he's saying? Allam al-Hilli used to say that yes, every human has a feeling inside them when they see wrong they should speak. But do they know how many levels there are? Or what conditions there are? Or what's the prerequisites to speaking? No. He says that comes to you God-given from the religion of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us attitudes to Amr bil Ma'ruf, levels of Amr bil Ma'ruf, conditions to Amr bil Ma'ruf, which he says a normal human cannot get to grips with unless it's revealed to him by the Lord of the heavens. Let's examine Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar in terms of, number one, what is the attitude needed for Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar in the 21st century? Number two, what are the conditions which I must have as part of my character before I can do Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar? Number three, is Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar simply with the sword, or are there other ways of doing it? And number 4, how many times did Aba Abdullah mention Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar in relation to the events of Karbala and the 10th of Muharram? Let's examine this and dissect this area in depth. You find that the first area when you discuss Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar is the question, what should my attitude be when I see something wrong happening in my house or in my community? What do I mean? I mean, for example, I see my brother is not religious at all. My brother is sitting at home the whole day. My brother is sitting at home the whole day. I see him, he's listening to music the whole day. He's watching films he shouldn't be watching the whole day. He's in relationships, and relationships which really are wrong. How do I go and approach that brother? My sister, for example, I noticed that maybe she's not wearing hijab, and it's about time she began to wear the hijab, but I don't know how to approach. My uncle, for example, is someone whose tongue is very foul-mouthed, and I recognize that there's a need for me to advise my uncle what should be my attitude in the approach. 50% of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar being successful is attitude. In which way? In the idea that the religion of Islam laid down certain guidelines as to our attitude when it came to Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. Today, in Muslim communities, part of the reason we push people away from the religion is because of our attitude. How? Some of us, when we see someone doing haram in their face, you are a kafir. You are not religious. You're going to burn in hell. Hell awaits you. Hell is waiting for you. Hell's going to finish you. Is that the attitude I take to another Muslim? As in, when I see another Muslim who's not religious, I want to enjoin the good and caution against the evil. All I use is that type of attitude. You find today many Muslims don't become religious because of another Muslim's attitude towards them. Isn't that true? As in, you'll find on many occasions, if you were to ask many who don't wear hijab, for example, in our communities, if you were to say to them, why don't you wear hijab? You'll have one group who'll say, inshallah, in the future I'm going to wear. You'll have another group who'll say, all I ever hear about hijab is that if I don't cover my hair, I'm going to burn in hell for the rest of my million years in hell. So is that the attitude you want to speak to me about hijab? Because if this pulpit is only hell, 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 then what is this pulpit? A pulpit of mercy or a pulpit of punishment? Sometimes our attitude when we perform Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar goes a long way into influencing a change. The Quran said the first attribute you should have when you perform Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar in terms of your attitude came in Surah 16 verse 125. Id'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'idha al hasana. Invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and with a kind word. Wisdom. Plato used to say, a wise man has something to say, whereas a fool has to say something. True? And boy, do we have a number of fools sometimes. A wise man has something to say. I see someone's not very religious, I have something to say. A fool has to say something. No, a fool can't stay quiet. A fool in the middle of the whole gathering will come up to the person, you are not religious, you're not religious, you're evil, you're kafir, hell is awaiting you. I mean, wait, sit back. That is wisdom? That's called wisdom? When I see something wrong in a gathering or in the community, I don't have to make it all a scene in terms of the whole community and bring them together and point at someone, mention his name and attack him. No. I can come afterwards. I can sit with that person, for example. Sometimes in this generation you may find that in the summer there may be certain gatherings which take place where we see something which is wrong. Should I make a scene at the gathering? No, not at all. I may see my sister, for example, not wearing hijab in front of the whole family. Should I shout at her and say, what's wrong with you? You're not wearing hijab? No, not at all. Wisdom. A wise man has something to say. A fool has to say something. You don't have to say it there and then. No. Wait for another convenient moment. Go and sit with them and say, listen, I want to approach you on an issue which I believe hurts me and I think will hurt you. You see what wisdom is? Knowing what to say, how to say it, with whom and when. The problem with people doing Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar is many times there's a lot of knowledge but no wisdom. Isn't it? A lot of knowledge. He'll quote you ayat of the Quran, one after another. Hadiths, one after another. Tell him, Habib, is this the right time for you to talk about this? As in, don't you think there would have been a better place, a more convenient place where you could have shown more wisdom in talking on this issue? Sometimes when we want to enjoin good and forbid evil in our communities, we're lacking wisdom. We have the knowledge. Yes, we can tell you about Islam from the Prophet until the last Prophet. But you find that the wisdom of how to explain Islam and when to explain it is often missing. That's number one. Then number two, it said, ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. موعظة الحسنة, do you know what it means? It means invite to the way of your Lord with wisdom and a kind word. Kind word, what does kind word means? Kind word means that when I speak to the person, I make them feel like they're in the same struggle as I'm in. What do I mean? I mean, for example, if I have a brother or a sister or an uncle or an aunt who aren't religious, I have to talk with them in a way not where I'm condescending, not where I'm lowering from them. No, I have to talk with them in a way where I come and I speak to their heart in a compassionate manner. I come to them with manners, with a good set of ethics. I come to them and say, listen, I'm living in London, you're living in America. I see what you see. I face what you face. If I could come towards the religion and become religious, why can't you? As in today, when I speak to someone, I shouldn't speak above them. I should speak alongside them. Montesquieu used to say, a great leader stands beside his men, not above his men. When we do amr bil ma'roof, when nahi anil munkar, in many cases, it's like we're looking down at someone, isn't it? It's like we are holier than thou. You know that attitude? Holier than thou. I have already reached Jannah. So I am now selling the tickets for Jannah. I will now come and tell you, each one of you, how exactly you can buy a ticket for Jannah. Because I've already reached there. No, Habibi, you think you've reached there? Wallah, you're on the same struggle as everybody else. And on the contrary, the moment you start being more religious, the moment shaitan starts whispering more. Isn't it? How many times do you notice? When you become more religious, shaitan whispers more. When you're not religious, shaitan leaves you alone because he's already won. He's already won, that's it. The guy's a knockout, I finished him. He can't stand up. Whereas when you become religious, you notice those whispers coming more. All of a sudden, everything comes in front of you. The Quran said when you invite someone towards Allah, first, wisdom. Know what to say, when to say. Number two, talk with them in a manner of kindness. The Quran, for example, in a quite beautiful verse, mentions about the Prophet, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّ مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. O Prophet of God, if you were hard-hearted or severe, they would have run away from you. Do you know, from the minbar, between 1975 and 1995, do you know how many youths we lost? Do you know or not? Go and research in the mosques. How many youths we lost between the 70s, 80s and 90s? And do you know in the last 15 years how many have slowly come back? You ask, sorry, how did we lose in the 70s, 80s and 90s? The minbar wasn't a place of mercy. It was a place of telling people how they're damned in hell forever. In those particular decades, you had people who specifically had a role. The whole of the lectures was hell, hell, burning, hell, grave, hell, burning, hell. You're looking and you're thinking, excuse me, this religion wants to take people to heaven or hell? As in honesty, there was a period where the only thing that was coming from the pulpit was an attitude of what? Not soft hearts, hard hearts. How do you condescend and put the people down or put the people in a state of fear? Our religion, we have people who think through fear you're going to make people religious. Wallah, no. It's through the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you make people religious. Yes, there's a time and place to remind people of a reality that will come after we die. But if you're going to come to the people with a hard heart, no one's going to come towards the religion. If, however, you're going to come with a soft heart, where you say the doors of mercy and the doors of forgiveness are open, you're going to find more and more people coming towards the religion. In other words, there's a prerequisite to Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi al Munkar. Number one, wisdom. Number two, kind words. Number three, a soft heart. Once you've understood those prerequisites, then you face the challenges. You find that the Imam says there are three conditions before a person can perform Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi al Munkar. Number one, make sure you know what you're talking about before you advise another person. What do we mean? I mean, these days everyone's become an ayatollah. Have you noticed or no? As in our communities, everyone's become an ayatollah. Everyone's advising everybody about how they're wrong, how they're misguided, how they're astray. You're like to him, excuse me, Habibi, have you even read any books on Islam? Because the way you're talking about the religion, I shouldn't be lecturing. You're the one who should come and sit up here. You find in our communities today, the first condition of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi al Munkar is when you are going to enjoin the good and forbid the evil, make sure you have knowledge of what you're talking about. Why? Because if the person you're trying to advise turns back at you with an attack or a question you can't answer, then it's not going to look good for the religion of Islam. Isn't that true? As in if I now come and tell someone, you know, you have to pray your prayers, and if you don't pray your prayers, then you're going to be punished, and the person turns around to me and asks me 4 questions on my prayers which I can't answer. The person will turn around and say, excuse me, you're telling me to perform an act. You don't even know the laws of the act you're asking me to perform. Excuse me, can you go and, for example, do Hajj? I say, okay, I'd love to. What's the rules for Hajj? Well, I don't know what the rules are, but you still have to go and do Hajj. No. When a person performs enjoining the good and forbidding the evil, the first condition is what? Is that we know the laws of that which we are enjoining or that which we are forbidding. Otherwise, what will happen? It can turn back on us. Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he was Khalifa of the Islamic State, Umar ibn al-Khattab used to walk through the middle of the roads. When he used to walk through the middle of the roads, he used to look over people's houses to see if they're acting religiously or no. What I think in today's terminology you might call spying. So what happened was that he would walk through the houses and he'd have a look. What's happening? Who's doing what? Let's see if anyone's doing haram. If anyone's doing anything which is forbidden. The narration states that Umar on one occasion walked past the house where he said, now I'm going to do Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar in this house. He heard people singing and merrymaking and laughing, so he jumped over the wall of the house. He entered upon the house and pushed the door. And when he entered, he straight away said to the person, how dare you drink alcohol in front of me like this? How dare you drink alcohol in front of me like this? The narration states that as soon as the person saw him, he said, "Oh, second Khalifa, I have committed 1 sin, whereas you have committed 3. You see here, notice, yes, you're going to tell me about an area I've done wrong, but it may rebound against you if you don't have knowledge of that area. Omar said, what do you mean? He said, I've committed a sin. I'm drinking alcohol. You are right. But you've committed 3. He said, in which way? He said, the first sin that you've committed, O Khalifa, is the Quran in chapter 49, verse 12 says, O you who believe, do not spy on one another. And you were spying on me. Number 2, the Quran says in chapter 2, verse 189, enter people's houses from their doors. You jumped over my house. Number 3, the Quran says in chapter 24, verse 61, when you enter upon people's houses, say Assalamu alaikum, whereas you entered and attacked me without saying Salamu alaikum once. You see how it rebounds on you? The first condition in Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar is be careful. That am I speaking on an issue where I'm telling someone else to do it which I don't have enough knowledge on? Because there are many of us who tell others to do something, a few years later we're like, oh my God, I think I explained it to the person in the wrong way. Or I think I explained it to the person in a way, but it's not how it was meant to be. The first condition is what? Is make sure you have knowledge of the area you're telling the people about. The second condition is make sure you are acting that which you preach. And that is the most difficult area in Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar. Why? And the difficulty begins from the speaker and then goes on to the crowd. Because the biggest test for a person, either someone who speaks on behalf of the holy household, or people who actually follow the holy household, is what? Is that you tell others Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar, but are you practicing that which you are preaching? As in when you're telling others to make sure that they are living a religious lifestyle, are you living a religious lifestyle? When you tell others to pray, do you really pray? When you tell others to fast, are you the type who misses their fast? When you tell others about the importance of Hajj, have you ever been at Hajj? Many times people slip on the second category. That they are very good at speaking for the religion, but not good acting on behalf of the religion. The Quran says what? لِمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Why do you say that which you don't act? On many occasions in Muslim communities, wallah, you find that you may have people looking the most religious, sitting on the pulpits of Al Muhammad. They tell the community, do not disunite, remain united. They are the very cause of disunity in the community. Wallah, I tell you. And there's certain things we don't want to speak further on. But sometimes you may find people who come and sit on the mimbar of Al Muhammad. And when they sit on the mimbar of Al Muhammad, they tell the people, unite. Underneath the community, they are destroying community after community. They are coming and attacking others who don't believe in that which they believe. They attack scholars who don't believe in that which they believe. The Quran came and said the second condition of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy al Munkar is what? Is that make sure you act that which you preach. Wallah, in the communities today, you find certain people who sit higher than everybody else. And they talk and talk, yet you find that they are the very root cause of the problems in our communities. Honestly, they are the root cause of the problems in our communities. Many times when you see problems in the communities, wallah, it's not the people who are the problem. Wallah, sometimes it's... Anyway, so what you find is that the Quran, what does the Quran say? The Quran says the second condition for Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar is make sure you practice that which you preach. And that is what made people admire Amir al-Mu'mineen. Why? Because Amir al-Mu'mineen, what is the meaning of his asma, his infallibility? One of the meanings is everything he preaches, he practices. Everything. There is not a contradiction between the words of Ali ibn Abi Talib and the actions of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib on a Tuesday, if he tells you to give charity to anyone who is in need or anyone who asks, on the Wednesday he'll be doing it. If on a Thursday he tells you oppose the oppressor and support the oppressed, on the Friday he'll oppose oppressors and support the oppressed. Ali ibn Abi Talib, never do you see a demarcation in his character. Always there's a unison in his character, in his words, in his behavior. I'll never forget Ali ibn Abi Talib on one occasion talking of the importance of charity, that it cools the divine anger. If anyone asks you, do not look at them, for example, and say, is he a Muslim or not? When a person is in need, give them. The next day, Ali ibn Abi Talib was narrated to have been praying behind Rasulullah. Rasulullah came to him. He said, someone has given me a certain gift of 300 gold coins. I've decided to give them to you. Imam Ali has always preached, when you have enough, give out to the people. When you see someone in need, give to them. Imam narrates himself that that night after Isha, I went out, I had the 300 gold coins. He had just preached to the people about giving away. Do you know what he did? Straight after Salat al-Isha, he went out, he had 100 gold coins. There was a lady walking the street. The lady said, oh man, I am in need. Oh man, I am in need. Ali ibn Abi Talib had the 100 gold coins. He gave it to the lady. The next day, the biggest rumor went around the community. Ali ibn Abi Talib gives his money to a woman who commits zina. The next day, Imam had another 200 gold coins. He was walking, a man in the street said, please give me money, I'm in need. Imam took 100 and gave him. The next day, the rumor went out in the community. Ali ibn Abi Talib gives his money to thieves. The next day, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen had 100 gold coins left. He's walking in the community. He sees an old man who's saying, please, I'm in need of some money, give me some money. Imam gave him the 100. The next day the community said, Ali ibn Abi Talib only gives his money to rich people. What the community saw, Allah saw in a different way. Why? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't know that that lady commits zina. He didn't know she was an adulteress. He didn't know the second person was a thief. He didn't know the third person was a rich, wealthy man. Imam gave sincerely from his heart because he had preached to the people. When you have a chance to give away, give away. He gave it from his heart. The people knew who these three were. The people said, look at Ali ibn Abi Talib. He gives to a lady who commits zina. He gives to someone who's a thief. He gives someone who does what, who is rich. Allah revealed to his prophet, I send my blessings on Ali ibn Abi Talib. Rasulullah said, why? He goes, Ali ibn Abi Talib on that first night gave 100 gold coins away to an adulteress. That adulteress, when she went home, she said, oh Allah, I have been so sinful against you. Yet whenever I have needed money, you've always used someone to give me. I am ungrateful, whereas you are always kind to me, I will never commit zina again in my life. The second person who was a thief said, Ya Allah, I steal from the people, yet still you give me. I steal and still you give me. I swear from this day onwards, I will never steal again. You find that the third person was a rich person who used to never pay his zakat. He said when he got home, Ya Allah, I am rich and I never pay my zakat. And I continuously admit that I should. And you still give me. And I don't even ask you. And I see the son of Abu Talib who has little money in his house but gives me 100 gold coins. Ya Allah, from this day onwards, all the zakat that I've missed, I'm going to give back towards you. If you looked at Amir al-Mu'mineen didn't know about these three. The people thought, look at Ali, giving to an adulteress, giving to a thief, giving to a rich. No, Allah knew that when you're charitable, you don't know how many seeds this sows when you're charitable to another human being. Therefore, what you find? The second condition, Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi al Munkar, is make sure you practice that which you preach. Number 3, and arguably the most interesting, don't waste your time with a fool. How many of us have wasted Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi al Munkar on a fool? Honestly. Sometimes you're speaking to someone in one ear, out of the other. They say, why did Allah create 2 ears? Why? So when you hear something, it goes in one ear, out of the other. That's it. No other reason, because there's nothing in there. So it goes straight through. Straight through. There's nothing to block it inside. And I tell you, many of us have wasted our energy with fools. Amir al-Mu'mineen used to say, only one has defeated me, the ignorant. That's it. Everybody else I defeat. The ignorant I can't defeat. How do you defeat the ignorant? What do you say? Ali ibn Abi Talib said, what do I say to the ignorant? What? Everything I say in one ear, out of the other. You find that the religion of Islam said the third condition of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi al Munkar, when you're enjoining the good and forbid the evil, and you can see the person isn't listening, go to someone new. Go to someone worth giving your energy. When you see some people, wallah, you see some people, you tell them, listen, Habibi, isn't it time you became a bit more religious? Isn't it time you started praying a bit more? What's wrong with you, bro? You've become too religious. Honestly, you've become extreme in your religion. Don't be like these mullahs becoming... How many times have you heard such an answer? Honestly. Where your own friend will say to you, you're becoming too religious. You're looking at the person and you're thinking to yourself, am I wasting my time with this person? Honestly. I'll keep the door open for him, no problem. But I might be wasting my words with this person. There's other good people out there who are worth talking to. This person, I open the doors for religion for him. All he ever replies back to me is with sarcastic remarks. Get out of my house. Get out. Get out. And I tell you, some of us wasted years with these types of people. Wallah. We wasted years. There were so many good other people who, if we had spoken with them about Islam for 5 minutes, they would have come to Islam. And we were speaking with a fool, wasting our time. And you find that this person, even if the imam comes down, wallah, he will not change. You find, therefore, that Islam came and said what? Islam came and said that the third condition, when there's a fool, don't waste your energy with them. Move on to others, and there are others who are pure. And that's why Ahlul Bayt and all their teachings would say that when it comes to the practicality of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar, the first way you can do Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar, when you see something is wrong, there is evil, there is injustice, the smallest way you can do Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahi anil Munkar is through your heart being sad, isn't it? Have you ever heard the phrase, my heart is bleeding? You've heard the phrase, my heart is bleeding. What does it mean? Literally, of course, it doesn't mean someone's heart is bleeding. It means that I'm sad from what I see. If I see today in Parachinar, innocent Pakistani followers of Al-Muhammad being beheaded because of their love for Amir al-Mu'mineen, and in Bahrain I see innocent women being raped, or Imam Bargas and Husayniyas being demolished because of the name of Imam al-Hussein being remembered, or I see, for example, in Iraq, orphan after orphan after orphan, with no one to look after them. The first way I can do Amr bil Ma'ruf, if I can't do anything else, at least let me remain sad in my heart, isn't it? I tell you, there are some followers of Ahlul Bayt, he'll go through a whole day, a whole night, a whole week, a whole month without any sadness of his heart for his fellow follower. I'm telling you, there are people in our religion, if you tell him, so how much have you been thinking about our brothers in Bahrain? What do you mean, which brothers in Bahrain? The ones who are dying at the moment. Oh, yes, I heard about this 8 weeks ago. What do you mean 8 weeks ago? Your heart should be bleeding every day. That's a part of your body, isn't it? Rasulullah said, "Man asbaha wa lam yahtam bi umur al-muslimin falaysa bi-muslim." The one who wakes up in the morning and does not care about the affairs of the Muslims is not a Muslim. I wake up in the morning, I've got innocent brothers in Pakistan being beheaded. I've got brothers in Iraq who don't know when their next meal is. I've got brothers in Bahrain. On a day like this, the famous Quds day of Sayyid al-Khomeini, when he remembers the people in Palestine who are being oppressed. When I cannot do anything, the smallest thing I can do is have my heart bleed, isn't it? That there should be a sense of sadness in my heart. You find some, unfortunately, there isn't any sense of sadness in their hearts. When you mention them the story, yes, they'll tell you it really is saddening. But try and move from the heart. Try and at least have that heart boil out of sadness for those brethren around the world. The second step of Amr bil Ma'ruf after the heart is what? Is when I use my tongue to speak out against the injustice that happens in the world. Because our voice is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, isn't it? When I see munkar in this world and I remain silent, what did Luther King say? At the end, it won't be the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends, which would have resulted in our defeats. When I see silence, you find that my voice, my tongue, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, what did he used to say? The weight of your tongue is so light. The power of your tongue is so devastating. Ali ibn Abi Talib, sometimes his mind takes you to a completely different world. He says if you cut someone's tongue, you place it, for example, on the weighing scales, it's going to weigh a few grams, isn't it? Let's say. But when you know that that tongue of the human being in one sentence can finish a nation or build a nation. One sentence. How many great orators have you seen in history who used their words, speech and power to build nations or to demolish nations? The second method of Amr al-Ma'ruf, after my heart is sad, is that I use my tongue to speak out. When I see people in the community, I remind them, look at what's happening in Bahrain, look what's happening in Pakistan, look what's happening in Palestine. What are we doing about it? Shouldn't we work together? Shouldn't we unite together on removing this injustice? This tongue which I've been using, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, man's honor is behind their tongue. The whole of their honor. Because what you speak is verifying what's in your heart. And do you know Ali ibn Abi Talib, how many of his companions were killed because they used their tongue to speak out for him? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, more than any Imam of Ahl al-Bayt, had companions who were killed because of speaking out for his cause. Abu Abdullah, on one day, his companions all died. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, over a number of years, you look at some of his companions who were killed. Why? When they saw the munkar of people like Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, or the munkar of Ibn Ziyad, or Ibn Ziyad, his father Ziyad, or they saw the munkar of Mughira bin Shu'bah and so on, you think they remained silent? No way. Their blood boiled with Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. Their blood, Imam, what did he say? Persist in doing good and cautioning against bad. Because if you do not, the worst amongst you will become leaders. And then when you ask Allah for help, there will be no response. Why? Allah will say, why should I respond to you? Why? You couldn't even speak yourself. Why should I help you? You have voices. You could have done something. Imam Ali's companion, Maytham al-Tammar, cut tongue off for Ali. His tongue was cut off for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Hujr bin Adi al-Kandi, beheaded for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Kumail, who will recite Dua Kumail after, beheaded for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Qambar, the servant of Imam Ali, beheaded for Ali ibn Abi Talib. All of these companions, and there are more which I can mention. Amr ibn Hamaq al-Khuza'i, beheaded for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Rushayd al-Hajari, beheaded for Ali ibn Abi Talib. Companion after companion, between the years 36 AH until Karbala, 25 years of Ali ibn Abi Talib's companions were beheaded. Beheaded why? You know, we will not be here today were it not for those companions. Wallah. Me and you today are holding the religion of Islam. We call ourselves servants of Al Muhammad. We should say we are the servants of the servants of Al Muhammad. The servant of Al Muhammad, Maytham al-Tammar, who used to go and water the tree which he knew he'd be crucified on. And Ibn Ziyad came and put a spear through his neck and cut his tongue because he praised Ali ibn Abi Talib. Hujr bin Adi al-Kindi, Muawiyah tells him, I give you one wish before we kill you. You know why they killed Hujr? Because he spoke out against those who were cursing Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Muawiyah said, I'll give you a wish before you die. And those of you who've been to Sham would have been to Hujr bin Adi, yes? From Sham, from Bibi Zainab's Haram, 45 minutes, you go to Hujr bin Adi. Never go to Sham without going to Hujr bin Adi al-Kundi. Your ziyarah will not be accepted. Go to Hujr bin Adi. Do you know why? Because Bibi Zainab herself would say, this man, I saw him lay down his life for my father. Hujr bin Adi al-Kindi, do you know when Muawiyah was about to kill him? He said to him, Hujr, I give you one final wish before I kill you. What do you want? He said, kill my son first. He said, sorry? He said, kill my son. He said, I've given you a final wish and you want me to kill your son? He said, kill my son. Behead him in front of me. Muawiyah came, the soldiers came, they beheaded his son. He said, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Muawiyah said, what's wrong? Your son's been killed. Why do you say Alhamdulillah? He said, I had to see my son die with the love of my master. Now that my son died with the love of my master, I'm happy. I was worried if you killed me first and he remained alive, you may have tempted him to come to your love. Whereas I know now that I brought up a son with the love of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now if you want to behead me, behead me. I'm honored that I die in this way. These men used their tongues for the religion of Islam. When they saw munkar, they did not remain silent. The second method therefore of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, first is my heart. Second, I use my tongue to speak out. Thirdly, if it means I have to lose my life so that the religion of Islam remains alive, then that's the highest level of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. Imam, before he went to Karbala, you know what the narrations say to us? What did he say before he went to Karbala? They said to him, why have you gone to Karbala? Listen to what he said. إني لم أخرج أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي رسول الله أريد أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر وأسير بسيرة جدي وأبي علي ibn Abi Talib. Imam, when he went to Karbala, they said, Hussein, why are you going to Karbala? He said, I've not come out for fame, nor for pomp, nor for glory, nor for power. I've come out for the reform of the ummah of my grandfather. I want to live by the teachings of my grandfather and my father Ali ibn Abi Talib by enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. The whole crux of Hussein ibn Ali's Karbala was Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. He saw the munkar of Yazid. At first, his heart bled. At first. Then he spoke out against Yazid. Then at the end, it's as if he was saying, if the religion of Muhammad does not survive except by my death, then, O swords, come and take my body away. If it means that in my death, this religion remains alive. And that's the unique philosophy of a shaheed. A shaheed, you know what his philosophy? If my life is to be lost so that Allah's religion is alive, let Allah's religion continue. Because my life is a sacrifice to Allah's religion. And that's why in ziyarah every year, what do we say? أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر. Every year in ziyarah we say, we swear that what did you do, Ya Aba Abdullah? You prayed, you performed your zakat, you enjoined the good, and you forbid the evil. That was the message of Karbala. That a true Karbala'i Husseini 1,400 years after Karbala is a man or a woman of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. Never do they desist from enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. And that's why Charles Dickens was amazed when he read about Karbala. Do you know why? Charles Dickens said, people say Hussein went out for his worldly desires. But which man would take his woman and his children with him if he went for the world? Isn't it? If I went for the worldly desires, for worldly power, why would I take my wives? Why would I take my daughter Zainab? Why would I take my sons? I'm not going for worldly desire. I'm going for a higher cause, isn't it? Those who say Karbala was a political battle. Political battles are won by men. You don't need women to come and help you in political battles. When he took his wives, when he took his sisters, when he took his children, he was highlighting if every member of this religion needs to die so that the religion of Islam remains alive, then come and take my members of my family. And that's why each one of those who got killed, you could understand. Say Ali al-Akbar, I can understand, in his 20s. Zayn al-Abidin, I can understand, in his 20s. Others who were in their teens, let's say. People like, let's say, Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan. But can you explain to me killing a 6-month-old baby? In which religion do you accept the killing of a 6-month-old baby? In which religion do you espouse a doctrine where a 6-month-old baby is to be killed? As in, every time you remember the 10th of Muharram, you think about how did Rabab let go of her 6-month-old baby? The narrations, what do they say to us? They say that Rabab gave the 6-month-old to Zainab. She said, Zainab, you take the baby to Hussein. Sayyidah Zainab said, why? Rabab said, before I could hear the baby moan, but now I can't even hear any noise from the baby. I don't know if the baby is alive anymore or no. The narrations, what do they mention? The narrations mention that when Sayyidah Zainab brought the baby to Imam al-Hussein came out on the battlefield. Imagine a 6-month-old baby. Those of you who've seen your own babies at the age of 6 months, you can't take even a scratch on their body. Then how do you take a 3-pronged arrow through their neck? Imam al-Hussein came out. When Imam al-Hussein came out, he said to the opposition, he said to them, oh opposition, if you want to kill me, kill me. But the 6-month-old has done nothing wrong to you. Again, there was no reply. He put the baby on the ground. He said, okay, I will not come near the baby. One of you just come and give some water. This baby doesn't even make noise anymore. Again, there was no reply. Then on the 3rd time, Imam al-Hussein helped the 6-month-old baby up. He said, oh army of Umar bin Sa'ad, I beg of you, give some water to this baby. Umar bin Sa'ad at this moment turned round to his army. At this moment, Harmala bin Kahil came to him. Umar bin Sa'ad said to him, Harmala, what are you waiting for? When they asked Harmala, which arrow did you use when you cut the 6-month-old? He said, I used an arrow which we normally use to cut the neck of a camel. I ask you, a camel, how big is its neck? A camel was created to be able to contain thirst. That's why Mukhtar, when Mukhtar caught Harmala, he said to him, Harmala, may I ask you, on the 10th of Muharram, what did you do at Karbala? He said, I shot 7 arrows towards the army of Imam al-Hussein. He said to him, how many of them got their target? He said, 4 of them shot their target. He said, the first arrow, who did you shoot? He said, the first arrow I shot on the right eye of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. He says, I saw Abu Fadl al-Abbas on the horse. They had already cut his right hand. They had already cut his left hand. So I shot him directly on the whiteness of his eye. He said, you know, normally a man, when he falls from his horse, he falls with his feet in front of him, whereas Abbas fell with an arrow in front of him. Then he said, who was the second person that you killed? He said, the second one was Abdullah, the son of Hassan, the nephew of Hussein. He said, Hussein was lying on the ground. Arrows had surrounded his body. He said, I looked at him. I was about to shoot him. I saw this young man running out of the tent. He came to sit by his uncle's body and he said, none of you will kill my uncle until you kill me first. So he said, I shot the arrow on the chest of that young boy, the son of Imam al-Hassan. Now listen to this. He said, how about the 3rd arrow? He said, the 3rd arrow is the one that hurts me the most. He said to him, why? He said, the 3rd arrow is the one I shot on the 6-month-old baby. He said to him, what happened when you shot the 6-month-old? He said, Wallah, I saw the 6-month-old flap its hands like a bird flaps its wings. He then said to him, what was the 4th arrow that you shot? He said, the 4th arrow I shot on the chest of Imam al-Hussein. When Imam al-Hussein was on the ground, I got an arrow full of poison and I shot the whiteness of the chest of Abu Abdullah. Then after that I saw shimmer sit on the chest of Hussein. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Raise your hands, brothers and sisters, raise your hands. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue in His guidance of this community and to allow them to be amongst the companions of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Raise us with the Imam of our time. Allow us to be amongst those who follow his principles and his message and his example. I'd like to thank the community for their kind invitation this year, and inshallah, one of many years in which we are able to serve the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. First and foremost, to the past president, Haji Arif, for his invitation for me to come in this holy month of Ramadan, which was extended a while back now. I'd like to thank him and his committee. And the committee of Haji Hussein, and their hospitality and their kindness in this period in looking after me and looking after any request that I have. I'd like to thank them for that in particular. Haji Faisal as well for his kindness and his support and his driving me here and there in this period. I'd like to thank him and his family as well. And all the members of this congregation and this community, may Allah allow you to continue in serving Muhammad and al-Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everybody who is here with a Surah Al-Fatiha, but before it, the loudest of your salawat.